The quantum sensors aboard the UES Hawking weren't designed to detect desperation. Yet as Dr. Sarah Chen stared at the readings flooding her holographic display, she couldn't shake the feeling that something was very wrong with the alien vessel tumbling through the Kuiper Belt. "Captain Rodriguez," she called out, her voice steady despite her racing heart. "That distortion we detected, it's a ship, and its reactor core is going critical." The bridge of humanity's most advanced research vessel fell silent. First contact was supposed to happen with diplomats and carefully crafted messages, not a potential rescue mission at the edge of the solar system. Captain Elena Rodriguez moved to Sarah's station, her dark eyes scanning the data streams. "Time to core breach. 30 minutes, maybe less," Sarah replied, running simulations through the quantum computer. "Their containment field is failing. Whatever they use for power generation, it's nothing like our fusion drives." Rodriguez didn't hesitate. "Plot an intercept course. Alert medical to prepare for possible xenobiological casualties. Dr. Chen, you're with me in the rescue shuttle. Let's hope our first hello to the galaxy isn't a goodbye." The UEA's Hawking's engines flared to life, pushing the vessel toward the tumbling alien craft. As they drew closer, the ship's external cameras revealed its organic-looking design, all curved lines and iridescent surfaces that seemed to pulse with internal light. In the shuttle bay, Sarah rushed through pre-launch checks while struggling into her EVA suit. Her hands moved with practiced efficiency, but her mind raced with questions. Would the aliens be hostile? Could they even survive in Earth-normal conditions? Her doctorate in centiphysics had prepared her for theoretical first contact, but reality was proving far messier. "Stop thinking so loud," Rodriguez said as she strapped into the pilot's seat. "We're rescue workers first, scientists second. Everything else comes later." The shuttle launched smoothly, crossing the void between the ships in minutes. Up close, the alien vessel's distress was evident. Its hull rippled with energy discharges, and several sections showed signs of severe structural damage. "No response to any of our hailing frequencies," Sarah reported, scanning across the electromagnetic spectrum. "Wait, I'm detecting movement inside. Multiple life signs, but they're weak." Rodriguez guided their shuttle toward what appeared to be an airlock. "Can you interface with their systems?" Sarah's fingers danced across her console, sending probe signals through the quantum computer. "Their computer architecture is bizarre. It's almost like it's grown rather than built. But I think I can, yes." The alien airlock cycled open, revealing a dimly lit corridor beyond. They docked and entered through their own airlock, magnetic boots engaging as they stepped into the alien ship. The artificial gravity was fluctuating wildly, and the air, according to their suit's sensors, was a mix of gases that would have been toxic to human lungs. They found the first alien in what appeared to be an engine room. The creature was roughly humanoid but seemed to be made entirely of crystalline structures that caught and reflected their suit lights. It lay crumpled near a pulsing column of energy that Sarah's instruments identified as the failing reactor core. The alien's crystalline body trembled as it noticed them, fragments of light racing through its transparent form like neural impulses. It spoke, the sounds translated through their suit's computers into rough English. "Impossible. You cannot survive. Gravity crush. Atmosphere poison. We're here to help," Rodriguez said firmly, kneeling beside the creature. "Your reactor is failing. We can evacuate your crew to our ship." More crystalline aliens appeared, supporting each other as they moved through the corridors. They all showed the same reaction: disbelief at the human's presence, followed by desperate hope as they realized help had arrived. Sarah worked with the alien engineer, using her quantum computer to interface with their systems. The alien's name was impossible to pronounce, a complex sequence of light patterns through its crystalline form. But its technical knowledge was impressive. Together, they managed to stabilize the reactor enough to buy time for evacuation. "Our world," the engineer explained as they worked. "Atmospheric pressure 1/10 of this. Gravity 1/3. How do you endure such conditions?" Sarah smiled behind her helmet. This is normal for us. Earth is, well, Earth is home. The evacuation proceeded quickly, with 23 crystalline aliens transferred to the Hawking's specially modified quarantine bay. The alien vessel's reactor finally breached just as the last shuttle docked, the explosion creating a brief new star in the Kuiper Belt. Back on the Hawking, Sarah watched through observation windows as their medical team worked to create suitable conditions for their guests. The aliens were recovering, but their amazement at their rescuers hadn't diminished. "They keep calling us Deathworlders," she told Rodriguez during their debriefing. Apparently, Earth's conditions are considered extremely hostile by galactic standards. Most spacefaring species evolved in much more gentle environments. Rodriguez leaned back in her chair, a thoughtful expression on her face. "So our first contact happened because we were the only ones tough enough to attempt a rescue in these conditions." "Exactly. And from what I've learned from their database, this changes everything. Humanity just proved itself capable of something most galactic species consider impossible." Sarah paused, considering the implications. "Captain, I don't think we're just meeting the galaxy. We're about to shake its foundations." As the Hawking began its journey back to Earth, Sarah spent hours talking with the aliens, learning about their civilization, and sharing information about humanity. With each conversation, she became more certain of one thing: humanity's entrance onto the galactic stage wouldn't be quiet or gradual. They were about to make waves, simply by being who they were, the species that called a death world home. The crystalline beings watched Earth grow larger in their view screens with a mixture of terror and fascination. To them, it was a nightmare world of crushing gravity and caustic atmosphere. To Sarah, standing proudly on the bridge of the Hawking, it was the most beautiful sight in the universe. It was home. The challenge. 6 months after the rescue of the crystalline Lumini, as their species called themselves, the United Earth Council chamber buzzed with tension. Dr. Sarah Chen sat beside Captain Rodriguez, watching the holographic representations of the Galactic Council float above the center of the room. The aliens' forms, crystalline, gaseous, and even some that seemed to exist partially in other dimensions, shimmered as they debated humanity's fate. "The humans have proven themselves capable of surviving extreme conditions," the Lumini representative argued, their crystalline form pulsing with determination. "They saved our research team when no other species could have approached our vessel." "But that is precisely what concerns us," countered Administrator Vix, a being of swirling plasma contained within an environmental field. "A species that considers such harsh conditions normal. Their potential for violence must be extraordinary." Sarah leaned forward, her voice clear and confident. "We understand your concerns, but humanity has learned to channel its strength into protection, not destruction. The same capabilities that let us survive on Earth allow us to help others in conditions they find extreme." The council chamber erupted in overlapping conversations, translated simultaneously through quantum processors. Sarah noticed how the alien representatives flinched when humans moved too quickly or spoke too loudly. To them, every human gesture carried the weight of potential catastrophe. "A proposal," announced High Commissioner Zix, their multidimensional form rippling. "The Gauntlet of Harmony. Let humanity prove their control and wisdom match their strength." The chamber fell silent. Even the alien representatives seemed surprised by the suggestion. The gauntlet was traditionally used to test species' readiness for advanced technologies, not their basic admission to galactic society. "What exactly is this gauntlet?" Captain Rodriguez asked, her tactical mind already analyzing possibilities. High Commissioner Zix projected images into the chamber's shared space. 3 challenges, each testing different aspects of civilization. First, survival in what we consider safe conditions, to prove you can adapt to our environments as well as your own. Second, a technological challenge requiring precision and restraint. Third, a diplomatic scenario where strength must yield to wisdom. Sarah exchanged glances with Rodriguez. The safe conditions the aliens showed looked like a paradise to human eyes. Low gravity, stable temperature, minimal atmospheric pressure. The real challenge would be appearing appropriately cautious and stressed while navigating what seemed like a vacation resort. "We accept," Sarah declared, standing to address the council. "But we have a condition of our own. If we succeed, Earth must be recognized not just as a member world, but as a designated emergency response center for the galaxy. Our abilities make us uniquely qualified to help in situations other species cannot handle." The council erupted again, but Sarah noticed the Lumini representatives' light patterns showing approval. They, at least, understood the value of having Deathworlders on call for crisis situations. "Agreed," High Commissioner Zix finally announced. "Choose your champions carefully, humans. The gauntlet begins in one standard lunar cycle." The selection process was intense. Earth's nations competed to offer their best candidates. But in the end, the choice was obvious. Sarah and Rodriguez had already proven they could handle first contact situations, and their existing relationship with the Lumini gave them valuable insight into galactic society. The third team member was Dr. James Patel, Earth's leading xenobiologist and environmental adaptation specialist. His research into human survival in extreme conditions would be crucial for understanding how to moderate their capabilities in the aliens' safe environments. As they prepared for departure, Sarah found herself in the Hawking's observation lounge, watching Earth's clouds swirl below. Rodriguez joined her, carrying 2 cups of coffee. "Having second thoughts?" the captain asked, handing Sarah a cup. "Not exactly. I'm worried about what happens after we succeed." Sarah took a sip, savoring the bitter warmth. "The galaxy isn't ready for humans to be human. Every time we do something we consider normal, they see it as terrifying." Rodriguez smiled. "Then we'll teach them not to be afraid. Show them that strength doesn't have to mean danger." She gestured at the stars. "Besides, someone needs to be able to handle the tough jobs. Might as well be the species that evolved on a death world." The Lumini ship that would transport them to the Gauntlet arrived a week later. Its interior had been modified to approximately Earth conditions, a gesture that made Sarah smile, considering how difficult it must have been for the crystalline beings to create such an environment. As they departed Earth's orbit, Sarah watched her home planet recede. Somewhere out there, 3 challenges awaited that would determine humanity's place in the galaxy. But she wasn't worried about failing. She was worried about succeeding too well. "Remember," she told her teammates as they prepared for cryo-sleep during the journey, "we're not here to prove we're the strongest. We're here to prove we're strong enough to be gentle." Trial of the safe world. The testing facility on Harmonious Prime looked like a luxury resort to human eyes. Sarah, Rodriguez, and Paddle stood at the entrance of their designated habitat dome, trying to maintain appropriately concerned expressions as their alien observers explained the harsh conditions they would face. "Gravity is set to a punishing 1/3 Earth standard," the Lumini guide explained, their crystalline form vibrating with worry. "Atmospheric pressure is barely twice that of your spacecraft. Temperature variations might reach 5 degrees in either direction. We understand if you need time to prepare mentally." "We'll do our best to endure," Rodriguez replied, managing to keep a straight face. In reality, the conditions felt like a perfect spring day on the moon, where humans had been living comfortably for decades. The first challenge was meant to last 3 standard cycles, about 5 Earth days. Their task was to demonstrate they could function safely and efficiently in what the Galactic Council considered normal environmental conditions. The true challenge, Sarah realized, would be pretending these conditions were actually challenging. "Remember," Patel whispered as they entered their habitat, "we need to move slowly, act cautious. No jumping, no running, and absolutely no acrobatics in the low gravity." The habitat itself was a marvel of alien engineering, designed to be comfortable for multiple species. The walls shifted colors soothingly, and every surface seemed to adapt to touch, but it was the view outside that took their breath away. Floating mountains drifted by in the distance, their anti-gravity cores keeping them aloft in the thin atmosphere. Their first task was to collect samples from the local ecosystem. The alien observers watched nervously as the humans donned what they considered minimal protection, light environment suits that would have been overkill for a walk in Earth's parks. Look appropriately strained, Sarah vocalized through their private comm channel as they carefully made their way across the landscape. The local plant life was beautiful crystalline structures that grew in geometric patterns, absorbing light and refracting it in dazzling displays. They were doing well maintaining their act until the incident with the crystal crawler. The creature, about the size of a small dog, emerged from a grove of crystal trees, apparently distressed and aggressive. To the aliens, it was considered one of the more dangerous local predators. Before anyone could react, the crawler charged toward the observation team. The Lumini observers froze in terror, their crystalline forms vibrating in panic frequencies. Without thinking, Sarah scooped up the creature, carefully controlling her strength in the low gravity. "Fascinating adaptation of crystalline biology," she said quickly, trying to cover her casual display of what the aliens would consider extraordinary strength. "The creature appears to be in distress. Dr. Patel, could you scan for environmental anomalies?" Patel's scanner revealed the cause. A subtle vibration from their equipment was resonating painfully with the creature's crystalline structure. Once they adjusted their gear's frequency, the crawler calmed immediately. Sarah set it down gently, and it scampered away. You handled a prime predator with your bare hands," one of the observers stammered, their crystalline form flickering in disbelief. "Well," Sarah said carefully, "we did come prepared for extreme conditions. Though I apologize for acting hastily. I should have consulted the safety protocols first." The observers huddled together, their light patterns suggesting intense discussion. Finally, one turned back to the humans. "Your control is impressive. When we saw you lift the crawler, we expected you to crush it immediately. But you showed remarkable restraint." Rodriguez stepped forward. "That's what we've been trying to explain. Yes, we're capable of surviving in conditions you find extreme. Yes, we're physically stronger than many species, but we've learned to control these abilities, to use them to help rather than harm." The rest of the challenge passed without incident. The humans carefully maintained their appearance of cautious adaptation while completing their tasks with steadily increasing efficiency. They documented the local ecosystem, conducted basic geological surveys, and even helped repair some environmental monitoring equipment. On the final day, as they prepared to leave the testing facility, the head observer approached them with news. "The council has been monitoring your performance," they announced, their crystalline form glowing with formal patterns. "Your handling of the crystal crawler incident was particularly noteworthy. While some were concerned by your physical capabilities, your demonstration of careful control and immediate focus on a creature's welfare has adjusted many perspectives." Sarah exchanged glances with her teammates. They had passed the first challenge, but more importantly, they had begun to shift the galaxy's perception of humanity. They weren't just Deathworlders who could survive extreme conditions. They were Deathworlders who chose to be gentle despite their strength. As they boarded their transport for the second challenge, Sarah paused to look back at the floating mountains of Harmonious Prime. "You know," she said to Rodriguez, "someday we should tell them about our extreme sports. Show them how humans spend their vacations climbing mountains and diving in high-pressure environments for fun." Rodriguez laughed. "Let's save that for after we're fully accepted into the galactic community. Though I can't wait to see their faces when they learn about skydiving." The Precision Protocol. The technology testing chamber aboard the Galactic Council's mobile assessment station hummed with energy. Sarah stood before a control interface that seemed to be made of pure light, her hands hovering over controls that responded to thought as much as touch. The challenge ahead was deceptively simple: repair a quantum communication array while managing power flows that could, if mishandled, tear apart the fabric of space-time. "The test requires perfect precision," explained Administrator Vix, their plasma form swirling with concern. "Most species train for years before attempting such delicate work. We can adjust the difficulty." "That won't be necessary," Sarah interrupted, then quickly added, "Though we appreciate the offer." She could sense the aliens' skepticism. To them, humans were creatures of brute force, evolved to survive crushing gravity and extreme temperatures. The idea that such beings could handle quantum-scale manipulations seemed absurd. Rodriguez and Patil monitored backup systems while Sarah began the procedure. The quantum array floated in a containment field, its crystalline matrices glowing with complex patterns of energy. Sarah's fingers danced through the light interface, making adjustments with micrometer precision. "Remarkable," whispered one of the observers. "How can they maintain such control with their dense musculature?" Patil answered without taking his eyes off his readings. "The same conditions that made us strong also required us to be precise. A species that can thread a needle in Earth's gravity learns control by necessity." The real challenge began when the array's power core started to fluctuate. Warning signals flashed across the holographic displays as energy levels spiked dangerously. The alien observers backed away, expecting disaster. Instead, they witnessed something unprecedented. Sarah's movements became even more precise, her adjustments faster but still perfectly controlled. Rodriguez coordinated with her seamlessly, managing power flows, while Patil analyzed the fluctuation patterns. "It's not random," Sarah announced, her fingers still moving through the interface. "The power spikes follow a pattern. This isn't just a repair test. It's a first contact scenario. The array is trying to communicate." The observer's confusion was evident, but Sarah was already adapting the quantum harmonics, matching the array's patterns. Under her guidance, the chaotic energy flows transformed into a coherent signal. The array projected a series of complex mathematical equations into the chamber. Each solution required not just calculation, but understanding of how quantum mechanics interacted with macro-scale space-time events. "This is brilliant," Sarah said, her eyes bright with excitement. "The test isn't about brute force control or even technical skill. It's about understanding the relationship between precision and communication." Working together, the human team began solving the equations, using the array itself as a quantum computer. Their solutions fed back into the system, creating new patterns of energy that stabilized the array while simultaneously expanding its capabilities. "Impossible," Administrator Vix exclaimed. "They're not just repairing the array, they're improving it." The final equation appeared, more complex than all the others. It described a theoretical method for extending quantum communications across unprecedented distances. The solution would require balancing power flows that most species would consider too dangerous to attempt. Sarah looked at her teammates. They nodded. Together, they began the calculations, their movements synchronized with years of practice handling dangerous situations. The array's energy levels rose steadily, approaching what the aliens considered catastrophic levels. But catastrophe never came. Instead, the array's field expanded smoothly, its reach extending far beyond its original design parameters. New communication channels opened, clearer and more stable than before. The chamber was silent for a long moment after they finished. Finally, Administrator Vix floated forward. "We may have misjudged your species. We assumed that beings evolved in such extreme conditions would lack the finesse for delicate work. Instead, you've shown us that true strength requires absolute precision. It's something we learned early in our development," Sarah explained. "The same muscles that can crush stone must also be able to cradle a newborn. Power without control is just chaos." The testing chamber's lights dimmed as the array was powered down. The human team had passed their second challenge, but Sarah knew they had achieved something more important. They had begun to show the galaxy that humanity's Deathworld evolution had given them more than just physical capabilities. "You know what this means," Patil said as they left the chamber. "Once we're accepted into the galactic community, humanity's role won't just be handling extreme environments. We could revolutionize their technology, find new ways to apply our precision in high-stress conditions. One step at a time," Rodriguez cautioned, but she was smiling. We still have the diplomatic challenge ahead, and something tells me that's going to be the hardest one of all. Sarah nodded, thinking about what they had learned from the quantum array. Communication, precision, and control. These would be the keys to humanity's future in the galaxy. They had proven they could handle the physical challenges of a death world and the technical demands of advanced technology. Now they just had to prove they could handle the most delicate task of all: peace, the heart of diplomacy. The diplomatic challenge took place in a vast chamber designed to accommodate representatives from every major galactic species. Floating platforms held beings of plasma, crystalline entities sparkled in environmental fields, and multidimensional observers shifted in and out of conventional spacetime. But today, all attention was focused on the central platform where an ancient artifact, the Harmony Sphere, pulsed with otherworldly energy. According to galactic legend, it was created by one of the first spacefaring races, designed to test the diplomatic readiness of emerging civilizations. The challenge is simple, High Commissioner Zix explained, their multidimensional form rippling. The sphere responds to emotional and intellectual resonance. It will create a scenario that tests your species' capacity for peaceful resolution of conflict. But be warned, it draws from your own minds, your own experiences. It will challenge you with your own fears. Sarah, Rodriguez, and Paddle stepped onto the platform. The sphere's energy wrapped around them, and suddenly they were elsewhere, or rather, in a simulation so perfect it might as well have been reality. They found themselves on a space station at a critical junction of several galactic trade routes. Alarms blared as system after system began to fail. The station's structure was buckling under forces it was never designed to withstand. Status report. Rodriguez called out, falling naturally into command mode. Data streamed across holographic displays. The station was caught in a gravitational anomaly, pulling it toward collapse. Thousands of alien lives were at risk, and the only way to save them would require someone to enter an environment that would crush most galactic species. But that wasn't the real challenge. Look, Sarah pointed to another reading. There's a ship approaching. Military grade. They're offering to help. But they're Kraxan, Patel finished grimly. In their briefings about galactic politics, they had learned about the Kraxan, a species that had also evolved in relatively harsh conditions, though nothing like Earth. They were known for using their capabilities to dominate rather than help, often creating situations of dependency. The simulation was testing how humanity would handle meeting another strong species, one that had chosen a very different path. We could handle this ourselves, Rodriguez noted. Show them and everyone else that we don't need their help. And perpetuate the cycle of competition between strong species, Sarah replied. No, there's a better way. She opened a communication channel to the Kraxan ship. The alien commander's image appeared, a massive, armored being with multiple sensory organs adapted to harsh environments. We accept your offer of assistance, Sarah said clearly, and we propose a joint operation. Our species are both adapted to handle these conditions. Together, we could save everyone on this station and demonstrate something important to the galaxy. The Kraxan commander's sensory organs pulsed with surprise. You would share the glory. Accept help when you could prove your superiority. True strength isn't about superiority, Sarah replied. It's about using our capabilities to help others. Both our species evolved to handle conditions others find extreme. That doesn't make us better. It gives us a responsibility. There was a long pause. The station groaned around them as the gravitational forces increased. Finally, the Kraxan commander nodded. Agreed. Let us show the galaxy what strong species can accomplish together. What followed was a masterpiece of cooperation. Human and Kraxan teams worked in perfect sync, their complementary capabilities allowing them to stabilize the station's systems while evacuating the most vulnerable species. Where humans provided precision and adaptability, the Kraxan offered raw power and extensive experience with space station engineering. As the crisis passed and the last evacuees were brought to safety, Sarah noticed something remarkable. The other species were no longer watching them with fear. There was respect in their gazes, yes, but also understanding. They had seen two Deathworld species choose cooperation over competition, protection over domination. The simulation faded, leaving them back in the council chamber. The harmony sphere pulsed once more, then went dark. High Commissioner Zix floated forward, their multidimensional form expressing what seemed to be satisfaction. In all our records, no species has ever passed the diplomatic challenge quite like this. You didn't just solve the crisis. You transformed our understanding of what strength means in our galaxy. Humanity's application for membership in the Galactic Council is approved, they continued. Moreover, your suggestion to serve as an emergency response center is also accepted. We believe you have shown us a new way forward, one where the very adaptations that make some species powerful can be used to protect and unite, rather than divide. Sarah looked at her teammates, seeing her own pride and hope reflected in their faces. They had done more than prove humanity's worth. They had shown the galaxy that being born on a death world didn't make them dangerous. It made them uniquely suited to help others. As the chamber filled with the equivalent of applause from dozens of alien species, Sarah thought about Earth. Their harsh, beautiful world had forged humanity into something remarkable. A species strong enough to survive extreme conditions, precise enough to handle delicate technology, and wise enough to choose cooperation over dominance. The age of human isolation was over. The galaxy had accepted them not despite their death world origins, but because of how they had chosen to use the strength those origins had given them. So, Rodriguez said quietly, "Should we tell them about extreme sports now?" Sarah laughed. "Let's save that for the cultural exchange program, one shock at a time." Above them, the stars of the galaxy sparkled with new promise. Humanity had found its place not as conquerors or outcasts, but as protectors. The Deathworlders had become guardians of life throughout the galaxy, proving that true strength lies not in the power to destroy, but in the choice to preserve and protect. And somewhere in the vast expanse of space, a crystalline being was telling their children the story of how they were saved by creatures from a death world, who turned out to be the gentlest souls in the galaxy.